Morning, afternoon or evening, ladies and gentlemen, Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another jam-packed daily market update. We have so much to cover with you. We're going to be covering the news flows over the past 24 hours. We're also going to be showing you some really interesting things, like according to 21 Shares Research, Goldman Sachs is the top holder of Bitcoin ETPs. We're going to talk about what Pakistan is doing in regards to an announcement at the Bitcoin 2025 that they are starting their own national strategic reserve. This is part of the arms race that we are going to see. I wonder if India is going to follow with a $3.9 trillion economy. Tomorrow is the start of FTX repayments. We've got news in regards to what the Trump administration has done relating to crypto and 401ks. We're going to talk about why this is such a big deal and how there's $9 trillion in 401ks and they're going to be able to gain access. We're going to talk about how Circle is IPOing and BlackRock is going to buy a 10% stake. Now, that's a big interest. Also, there has been a denial of Trump's tariffs due to the trade court in the United States. I mean, that makes no sense to anyone. The president implements something, having been democratically elected, and then it's essentially blocked. And Elon Musk very much said something in regards to his disappointment around Doge and what they're trying to do in regards to cutting government spending and how that's been blocked. You would think that the people in charge wouldn't want to indebt their citizens and would want to reduce that. However, apparently not the case. We've got NVDA results. There's a whole load of things to get into. And really what I wanted to do in this one was start the video off addressing what winds me up in regards to, when alt season, because if you look historically, so let me set a little bit of context, and I'll cover this very quickly, and then we'll move on to everything we've got to cover. How many times do you see people say, oh, this is the worst bull market ever for altcoins, or whatever it may be, and actually, that's historically not the case, or factually not the case, in fact. And it's not what people know that's the problem, it's what they know that isn't so. And I think always remember that your perspective perhaps isn't the reality. And this is why I'm a technical analyst, because the charts don't lie. The last period of Bitcoin dominance that we saw took 1,085 days to top, right? Before you then had your alt season, which is where Bitcoin dominance goes down. Today, we've only been going for 1,001 days. So we still essentially have over 80 days to be on par with how long it took for Bitcoin dominance to roll in the last cycle. And yet, the narrative is, oh yeah, no alt season, blah, 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 blah. Well, the timeline for alt season hasn't quite been, you can't say that until we've extended that and we really haven't seen alts perform. I did become a Patreon. Yesterday, we looked at this and actually related it to where the altcoins are positioned, or how the altcoins are positioned technically, and why there's an alignment there in regards to what we think is to come. Also, we think Bitcoin's got substantially higher to go. We cover that on a daily basis. Let's get into all the news that we have for you, because there's a hell of a lot of it. This is from Coin Bureau. Guys, a great guy to follow, by the way. $5 billion FTX payout starting tomorrow, being literally tomorrow, depending on if you're watching this video today, being the 29th of May, so the 30th of May. FTX starts paying creditors from May the 30th, with over $5 billion going out in stablecoins. Remember, it's not crypto that could be liquidated. The crypto's already been liquidated. It's stable coins, and I would say a good chunk of that is going to flow back into the markets and certain projects. He goes on to say, what do you think investors will do with the funds? Hold, spend, or reinvest? I would say the majority will reinvest. Some will probably say, I'm never getting involved in crypto again, having gone through the whole nightmare that FTX was. But this is liquidity. I think, is it 16 billion in total is to be repaid, or something along those lines? I could be massively undershooting that. And 5 billion is kicking off tomorrow. Let's take a look at what was announced by Pakistan in regards to them being the first BTC reserve in South Asia. Let's dive into this. This was over at the Bitcoin conference.
And today marks a very important and remarkable day in that journey of Pakistan. Today is a very historic day, because today I will announce that the Pakistani government is setting up their own government-led Bitcoin strategic reserve. And we want to thank the United States of America again, because we are getting inspired.
So in reality, Pakistan, of course, isn't a major economy. However, this is all it's another domino or another sort of move towards this kind of arms race that we spoke about in regards to nations actually looking to stockpile digital assets. And I think all that's still to come. I think that's certainly a great narrative for Bitcoin at a time when I think it was just yesterday we looked at OTC reserves, exchange reserves, and exchange reserves generally for Bitcoin being at all-time lows. You introduce all these buyers, public companies, governments, so on and so forth. It's a basic supply and demand shock that we think is going to take place. Let's move on because we've got that much news to cover with you guys today. This is from 21 Shares. Shout out to 21 Shares. We've interviewed a variety of their people that work for the company and some great minds over there. Goldman Sachs is now the top traditional holder of Bitcoin ETPs. Ethereum ETPs are also gaining traction with hedge funds and private equities ramping up exposure. Matt Mena breaks down the latest 13F data. Read the full report on our website. So very interesting. Certainly interesting that Goldman Sachs is the top holder of their Bitcoin ETPs. On other news, BlackRock is now recommending and have been recommending 2% Bitcoin allocation to their investors. If you look at what that means in terms of volume of money, we're nowhere near capturing all of that. Crypto is finding its way into portfolios. And talking about that, Trump administration axes Biden era barrier for crypto in 401ks. This is pretty interesting. And actually, I think this is Bitwise's predictions. One of prediction 8 was the US Department of Labor will relax its guidance against crypto and 401k plans, enabling billions of dollars to flow into crypto assets. Within pensions, what are you talking? You're talking $9 billion potentially. On other news, and there's a hell of a lot of it, and that's huge. It's all part of becoming an asset class that we've not even been permissioned to do so yet. I think they're waiting for. I think they were probably wanting to get that out before they enable the ETF so that people can actually put them in there. 401ks and such. This also in BlackRock is set to buy 10% stake in Circle's IPO. And of course, Circle's USDC. It's going to be a major player. The evolution of money is stablecoins. I had an interview with somebody who works with the Dutch Central Bank. And we spoke really in layman's term about why this revolution is taking place and why stablecoins are the evolution of money. And more broadly, finance is going to move on chain and we're going to solve all the systems that we have. We get such a great insight here. Do become a subscriber. If you want to take your journey a step further, do become a Patreon. Some sort of macro news. There's multiple different paradigms affecting the markets right now. One is certainly what's going on with tariffs. Now, Trump's global tariffs have been deemed illegal and blocked by a trade court. This is a summary from Bloomberg AI. A US trade court has blocked President Trump's global tariffs, which negatively impacted the markets due to uncertainty. And in times of uncertainty, people don't spend money and they'll hedge their bets, deeming them illegal and a major blow to his economic agenda. The court ruled that Trump wrongfully invoked an emergency law to justify the tariffs, which were imposed on China, Canada, and Mexico, amongst others. This is such a bad look. You need a unified country, not one fighting from within, to implement these kind of things. We'll look at what Trump's reaction to this has been. The Trump administration, and then we'll look at the market's reaction, which is where we're concerned. The Trump administration has filed an appeal, and the case may ultimately be decided by the US Supreme Court, which could impact trillions of dollars in global trade. Yeah. 4 tools at the Trump administration's disposal after a US court blocked the tariffs. It talks about options on trade, so on and so forth. I mean, we're not going to get into all of this, but the TLDR is a US trade court ruled that Trump had overstepped his authority, he's the president of the United States, by invoking an emergency law to impose sweeping tariffs on nearly every country. Economists at Global Sachs said the White House likely has a few tools at its disposal to ensure this is only a temporary problem. Lawyer James Ransdell said the ruling marks the first of many cases still pending and is the first opinion to really address the meat of the plaintiff's challenges. Now, we'll hit the stock market, and NVIDIA having some great results. So this is going to, we'll look at that in just a second, but we'll hit the stock market. This will likely open quite positively today, I would imagine. Where have all my draws on the S&P gone? Yeah, this would probably open quite positively today, I would imagine. Certainly the NASDAQ futures are up. You know, we've nearly engulfed this entire pullback, and we said that was likely due to essentially people being wrong on these tariffs being literally implemented. We said that that isn't a likely scenario, in my opinion, thinking about things logically, and that you were going to get somewhere in the middle, if not a net positive result with lower tariffs across the board. And certainly we've seen that in regards to China going from around about 21% overall tariff on America to 10%. And that America had all the cards in this and that they were going to win this out. And that triggers people. Again, always do this, right? Separate your reality from the reality. And one of the greatest things you can do is that. Because then once you understand the actual situation, not what you think the situation is or I think the situation is, you're going to come to a better conclusion. This is going to continue to recover. I think this is going to be positive news for the markets because they really priced in the tariffs. An undoing of that or a no sort of status quo forward might be deemed as positive. Also, you've got the likes from NVIDIA's earnings coming out. I mean, they beat in regards to expectations. You know, this is likely going to have a positive effect on the markets, and we're going to see how things open up. But I think that's a positive sort of tide for the cryptocurrency space, which really is following what we set out for it. It's just got those next legs to come, and we think that's coming. You know, going back here, you know, we're still yet to see an alt season. I think Bitcoin dominance where it's at is more bullish than bearish, and I think we've got this great time ahead of us generally. So heavy news related update. I do apologise for that, but there's always a lot to cover. If you're not a subscriber already, do become one. Amazing things happening. We'll see what happens on the macro stage. I've also said I'm uncertain in regards to how this is all going to get resolved. But I think one way is more likely than the other. I think we'll see more confirmation towards that than not. And that's obviously going to impact the markets in a big way. We've said generally sentiment has got it wrong in regards to the tariff situation. I think there's going to be more of a positive result than a negative one. It's very common that on a new presidential term you sell off initially. Go and look at new presidential terms. You know, going back, it's often met with negativity due to harsher policies being implemented. But as it relates to the cryptocurrency space, fundamentally, there's just such an amazing story. And technically, we've got every reason to be bullish. And when it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll see you all soon.